Hey folks, back in action today after a week off, taking care of the boss lady. That's all handled, so we're in good shape. Whoa, we don't need audio. Sorry for that short echo there. Sure, that was not helpful. Luckily, it looks like it's just me so far. Folks haven't started rolling in yet. But when they do, we'll get into the topic a little bit. Looks a little bit better. All right. So I started thinking today how many of these streams we've done. I don't know. They don't create episodes like I do in the Metacast because I wanted to hopefully celebrate some milestone we've hit. I feel like we've hit at least one milestone. Done a lot. Promise I'll stop tweaking at some point, folks. I'll get happy eventually. But yeah, I feel like we've done a lot of good things. We've had 2,000 people come in. Well, 1,700. I shouldn't round up like that. We've had 1,700 come in and watch. So that's pretty cool to know that we're getting out there, we're getting seen. I think that number would go up just like it does in the podcast with consistency. I know that's something Bob and I have really struggled with over time, is consistently pumping out that episode every 2 weeks. Just our schedules get in the way. And we saw that happen again last week here. So when we get in a good rhythm, we start to get more folks showing up, which is good and exciting and fun, because that's kind of why we do this. I look forward to helping folks, so that's the ultimate goal. News about today. Today is Bearcat Game Day, as you see in the topic. 8 o'clock, ESPN. We play UCF, who's like number 22 in the country. Luckily, it's a home game. We'll see. It'll be good to find out if we're good. And I say that because we've played somebody and nobody. We played Ohio State, who destroyed us because they're really good, and we played a bunch of nobodies. So we don't really have a good gauge how good we are. Technobabble, welcome, my friend. So it'll be interesting to see tonight if we're good or if we're just okay at beating bad teams, because I think that's all we've shown so far. But that'll be interesting. My wife hates watching Bearcat games with me because I am very emotionally attached as a former Bearcat. Any other game, any other pro or college game, I sit and enjoy and don't really get fired up at all. But Bearcats, having been there, played there, I really care. And it bothers me when they don't do well, which, as my wife has told me repeatedly, is not enjoyable to be around. So, but I don't know how to fix that. Like, I can't undo that. Okay. So today's topic came in from Scrum Sarge on Discord. If you have not, you can sign up for Discord via that link and get in on the conversation beyond just our Friday morning streams. That would be good. Before I get into the content, the main content around diversity that Scrum Sarge asked, there's a couple things I want to put out there. Next Thursday, find the timing and post it in Discord and on Twitter. Bob and I are speaking together at Red Hat, and our room has the live stream turned on. I'm going to share that link out. We're doing our normal Q&A session. Their agenda for their Agile Day, they do it once a year, Red Hat Agile Day. It's a pretty good setup. Is practically agile. They want to talk about practical agile. So we're going to get as practical as we can and answer the questions you have. That's the preferred approach that Bob and I take, because we believe it directly addresses the questions and concerns people have, and that's really what we're there to try and do. We've done a lot of just conference talking, getting up there, spouting off for an hour or an hour and a half or whatever it may be. And that's cool, that's good. But there's times where we know somebody in that audience walked away hoping we were going to answer a question and we didn't. So the plan, the goal, the approach we've taken is we just shortcut that. We've done this, gosh, about a half dozen times. It's always received well. We enjoy it. It is a little bit challenging / scary because you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get some doozies, but we sort them like a backlog. One of us acts as the product owner, and we line up what we think are the heaviest hitting, most important questions, and we go from there. So I'll be sharing that link out next. Well, we speak next Thursday. I'll share it out as soon as I get it. I got an email from the event organizers with information about that, so I should be able to share that out today. So that should be good. Second, we now have the opportunity to provide like subscriber level badges and things like that, where you earn different badges for being a subscriber for a period of time, which if you haven't and you have Twitch Prime, please click that button above that says subscribe for free. I was thinking about what the right or most appropriate like graduated image was, and I was thinking about different burn down charts. Maybe a typical burn down chart that you would expect to see from a new team, and then as it goes and grows, it improves over time. But I wanted to bounce that off of you guys because it's really for you guys, and I wanted to see what you guys thought, or if you had any other ideas around other graduated images that we could do. I thought about some of the other things that we have out there that we've talked about a lot, but I didn't really latch on to anything. So I'm hoping I can crowdsource this a little bit and get some ideas, or maybe you guys like the burn down charts idea or whatever it might be, because our subscription levels are already Shuhari, so I couldn't do that. But just looking for ideas there. Okay, let's dig into the meat of the day. Ooh, yeah. Continuous flow diagram is an option. Would you provide better and better looking continuous flow diagrams, or would you view that as in addition to a burn down, or like that's the next level chart? Be interested to see what you guys have to say about that. Let me know. Okay. Scrum Sarge asked a very good and heavy hitting topic in Discord. I will paraphrase. He was at a, let's see, it looked like an open space about diversity, and discussing how the system, our system, I'm not sure what our system is. I guess the software engineering system is optimized for perpetuating the success of white heterosexual Christian males. And Scrum Sarge is like, that's me. So what is the role of white heterosexual Christian males in modifying the system and changing the system even possible? Like, is that possible? I say it's absolutely possible. And it's hard. I won't say it's easy. This is something that I know I've wrestled with in the past. One of the very unique situations I had was I got to build a team from scratch. And that team grew from 0 to about 70 in 2.5 years. And diversity was very important to us. And diversity for us took 2 different channels. There's the diversity you can see, and then there's the diversity you can't see. And that diversity you can't see is around experience, years of experience, tool experience, framework experience, all of those things. Even just like degrees. I've had tremendous success with ensuring that we have an insanely diverse background of people, because otherwise if everybody has the same background, and this was a mistake that I made when I first started hiring. When I first started hiring, everybody looked the same. Everybody had a computer science degree, and everybody was a .NET engineer because that's the framework that we're working in. And I quickly realized the mistake that I had made in that I was just hiring clones. Our capability to innovate was reduced drastically because we all were walking around with the same hammer, just looking for a nail. And if there was a screw, like, well, we can't do that. That's not who we are. So then my next opportunity, I was forced into a very diverse environment, and that was a game changer, an eye opener for me. And I felt like a complete idiot as I look back at the mistakes I made in the hiring process around trying to find people that looked both, and not physically, because our team that we hired was diverse. It was 40% female. So we were pretty good in that aspect. But everybody, their tool belts looked the same. And that became a very frustrating thing as we got beyond the basics and wanted to take things to the next level. We all had the same answers. So that next job I got was in a Java shop. I had never touched Java. I never did anything like that. But what I quickly discovered was that a great developer is a great developer. The real challenge is in, can I look at a complex business problem and wrap code around it? Syntax in the end doesn't matter. Most languages do the same thing. We all have the same problems to solve. Yeah, sure, there's bits and pieces of each framework that's better or worse for some things, but in the end, for the most common problems you're wrestling with, they all do the same thing. And really good folks, the syntax just melts away in a matter of weeks or months, depending on their experiences. So I stopped hiring people based on their background, programming background. I started hiring based on fit, and that fit was around our culture and our ability to question things and each other. So that was the framework that I shifted to over time. I've talked a lot about that. I'd be happy to go into that, but I feel myself drifting away from Scrum Sarge's original question about how do I, as a white male in the computer engineering world, change the diversity issue. And I think the only thing you can do, and the thing that I've done, is be intentional about it and talk about it. And I've been very lucky in the past to have leaders in organizations where I was hired that weren't all male. Now, there were some where they were all male, and like you get that uncomfortable feeling like, gosh, this buddy's game. That's cool. And it's even harder when you're in the minority. But the only thing I know to do is what's becoming very prevalent in our world today is just put it on the table and discuss it and talk about it and be intentional with your initiatives and recruiting. Don't just post your jobs in all the same places you've always posted, because guess what? That's how you got the people you have. Be creative. Work hard on your social media presence and get visibility and awareness of your hiring into all of the different channels. That's something that I know my wife and I have discussed a lot. She spent the previous school year working on technology education in an elementary school. And how do you ensure that the diverse group of people that are in a public school get excited about computer stuff? Because everybody has this perception that we're going to teach kids how to write code or how to like code with games. But you know what? Not everybody likes games. But so often that's the thing people lead with. So it instantly sections off part of the poor population that's not interested about it. That's the same thing you do when you post jobs in the same spot you've always posted jobs. You have to get yourself out there. You have to get your company out there in new and different channels, likely channels you're not in. Get on Instagram, maybe Snapchat. Think about all the different places that are out there that you can create a presence and awareness for your hiring needs, and be there. Be where the diversity lies. Diversity probably doesn't lie in Stack Overflow. I know a lot of people post there. I've had a lot of really good luck with LinkedIn. LinkedIn seems to be a pretty darn diverse place to post. We've had pretty good diversity options when posting on LinkedIn, because that everybody kind of feels obligated to be there. You know, it's one of those things as a business person that you feel like, gosh, I guess I have to have a LinkedIn account, whether you like it or not. It's almost an obligation for you to have one. I actually don't even want resumes anymore. Just give me a link to your LinkedIn account. That's enough for me. Don't worry about translating that into a resume. In fact, I don't even create a resume anymore. And when people ask me for a resume, I just point them to my LinkedIn channel. I'm just going to retype this in a Word doc or a Google doc. So just read this, because that'll give you what you need. And that's worked surprisingly well. People are like, oh, okay. And just resumes are one of those banes of my existence. But again, the key is you can't just keep doing what you're doing. So if you find that your team, your company, your hiring process generates a cloning system, then you have to stop and change the things you're doing. And I've had the most success with finding alternative channels to create a presence in. Host meetups. Host a diverse array of meetups. That's one of the most successful things that we've ever done. It doesn't cost much money. In fact, people are usually dying for a good space to host their things. But it's time, it's effort, it's energy. It's that Wednesday night when you want to be home with your family, but you know, gosh, maybe I should just do this. Brave Dave, thanks for the resub. 8 months. Yeah, I'm done with resumes personally. I just repoint people. Ooh, Technobabble with the next level. Did I thank Technobabble or did I thank Brave Dave? I was thinking Technobabble, and I'm afraid I didn't say Brave Dave. So I'm going to redo that. Brave Dave, thank you, in case I inadvertently said Technobabble. We'll double up and give you the double thank you if I did say Brave Dave. But my brain had a panic attack that, did I thank Brave Dave by inadvertently thanking Technobabble? If I did, okay, good. Whew, I was so worried. Man, that's like, that would be the worst. Because I tell you what, my kids get so excited, and I know I'm not those guys. My kids get so excited when there's a few streamers that I subscribe to, and they always want to be around when I make the announcement in chat, because they want to hear that guy say daddy's Twitch handle. Or one time when my youngest son, Lincoln, who you've seen bouncing around in the past, he's a huge fan of Ninja. Well, I tipped Ninja $20 and asked him to say happy birthday, Lincoln, and Lincoln almost passed out. It was a fantastic moment. It was really enjoyable to see that. So I want to make sure I get that right. I don't want to be that jerk of a streamer that screws that up. So glad I got it right. Okay, so let's dig in more around where Technobabble's taken us. I think any leader, and that's regardless of title, I think you should feel an obligation to change things. And that leader, I want to reiterate that it's not about the title. I've had engineers in my teams that have a passion for diversity say, what can we do? How can I help? And those are some of the best folks to enlist in some of those initiatives if you go and you're at a college job fair. So here at NC State, they have a pretty sizable job fair, and I've been there a couple times. And having a diverse set of people in that booth makes a difference. Having people see people that align with who they are creates a more welcoming environment. And having someone with that passion that I want us to become more diverse, oftentimes it's an engineer, having them be a part of that makes a huge difference. So what I would do if I were a coach in an environment where I perceive that our diversity is not good enough, then I believe you have an obligation to do something about it. Because a more diverse team will be a better team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've seen it firsthand. I believe in it completely. So it's there. It makes a difference. As an agile coach or a scrum master, that diversity will make your team better. It will create additional skills for the engineers on your team. So yeah, if you really want to become that level team, diversity is going to be one of the things that gets you there. So I do believe you are obligated to do something about it. And it is 100% likely that, as Technobabble mentions from Scrum Sarge's post in Discord, that you may be unknowingly, you might be part of the problem. Not intentionally, but oftentimes you become part of the problem by continuing to do things the way we've always done them. That's a typical problem, is that not understanding how we go through recruiting, what our presence is out there in the social media world. If you don't have one, that's part of the problem, because you probably have a very narrow channel of awareness of who you and your team is / are. Word is there. Pick one, whichever one you like best. But also your awareness. Again, you're speaking to the same channel, and it's getting you results, but your results can be better if you diversify them. And there's no doubt most companies end up in this situation because it's easier, without a doubt. And there's other challenges you have that you're tackling, but intentional awareness around diversity is the only thing I've ever seen to make a difference. There's no shortcut. There's no quick fix. It's hard. It takes a lot of effort and energy, especially in just generating that first awareness. It's going to be very similar to when I started this Twitch channel. When I started this Twitch channel, the first dozen or so were me talking to myself. But I knew I had to go through that. That was a lesson I had learned through our podcast. That our first podcast, there were like 5 listeners, and we were pretty sure we were all 5. But we knew we had to keep doing it. With your diversity initiatives, your first half dozen or so will feel like they fall flat. But you've got to keep at it. You've got to stay consistent to create the awareness. That's the only thing that you can do. So when you initially attack this problem, as I'm suggesting you do, it will feel like it's not working for the first 6 tries, maybe even your first dozen tries. But you'll start to see things turn. And you have to celebrate and view that. And then what happens is as you create more diversity in your team, it gains momentum. You have a more diverse group to recruit and build a more diverse group. The more diverse you are, the easier it is to increase or maintain your diversity. But you've got to get over that hump. And that hump is going to be a challenge. It is, especially in a situation where you and your company have done things the same way for a long time. Changing habits is hard. Getting people to be willing to change habits is oftentimes the hardest part. But I do believe, Scrum Sarge, as you eventually listen to this, I do believe it can happen. I do believe you have an obligation, because I 100% agree and believe that increased diversity will increase the performance and happiness of your team. Without a doubt. Seen it firsthand, and it's built in me a strong desire to ensure that it always goes that way. Teams that I'm a part of. Okay. We tackled that. Let's see. Awareness. Speaking of awareness, next Friday, Bob will be on stream. We're recording a podcast at his house, 10 a.m. Eastern. So we'll just roll into a stream at 11 a.m. Eastern next week. So if you have Big Bad Bob questions, bring them. If you have questions today, let us know in chat so that we can help in any way. I know a lot of folks have been wrestling with challenging situations at work. So if you have updates on those, we're here to help. If you've made a little bit of progress, but you're not sure how to continue the progress, happy to help you find that. Or if everything's just peachy keen, then that's fantastic. I congratulate you, and I hope you celebrate it, because I'm sure it won't be like that for long. Because people have hired people like us when help is needed. We are often the first responders in a bad business situation. So that's the challenge that we have. You can always bring Waterfall Bob questions. I have discussed how scary Waterfall Bob was for me. Waterfall Bob came along in my life when I wasn't as confident in my agile chops as I am now. So every time Bob opened his mouth to ask a question, I felt like I was going to say the wrong thing. It was terrifying. Yeah, I totally agree, Technobabble. That's why I keep hitting that. I've seen it firsthand, and it makes a difference. It really does. It enables you to truly land on the best solution for the complex problems you're wrestling with. Right, the things that we're asked to do are not simple. If they were simple, it would have already been done. But it hasn't. So now you're trying to do things that people have been wrestling with for a decade or so, like a situation I've been in before. Hey, we have this very old Windows application and we need to find a way to navigate away from that. Oh, and we have tens of thousands of customers. How are we going to do that? How are we going to transition them to the browser? Well, we haven't done it because it's been hard. Well, now let's dig in and figure it out. That takes a diverse set of people that have seen a lot of different challenges that can come up with creative solutions to the problem. Again, I always come back to, you are going to be ineffective if you run around with everybody having the same tools in their tool belt. It's no different than building a house. You cannot build a house with carpenters only. You cannot. I mean, you can. It might not be terribly livable, but you could build a house with only carpenters. I don't think any of us would buy one. but you need a diverse set of tools to solve the problems we're often asked to solve. And if you only hire, maybe you only hire very experienced carpenters that have done things the same way for 35 years. And maybe you're asking them to build something in a different way. They might have experience, or maybe you get that new carpenter that's willing to try just about anything and is terribly willing to fail. That can be a good thing. You're going to need plumbers. You're going to need flooring experts. You're going to need electricians. You're going to need all those things. So I 100% agree. If you are doing it for socio-political pressures, I don't think I ever expected to say that, but I just did. If you're doing it because of socio-political pressures, it's gonna fall flat because you don't really believe in it. So you might as well not do it because you're probably just gonna make things worse. But I would encourage you to focus on figuring out why you don't believe in it. And one of the best things you can do is find a diverse peer. Find a peer company that's close to you that's diverse and ask if you can just come visit and observe. I guarantee you will see a different level of energy and creativity with that diversity. Maybe you just haven't seen it. Maybe you don't know what you're looking for. Maybe the only thing you know to chase is that, I'll say it again, socio-political pressure of creating diversity. And that's okay. Again, like I said, I did the same thing. Gosh, around the turn of the century, I made the same mistake. Diversity was not important to me. I wasn't aware of it. Then I was thrust into an environment where it was very diverse, and boom, eyes opened. That changed things for me. So maybe what you need to do is go find a place that you can observe and see and understand the power that it generates. Okay. Let's dig into Brave Dave. Haha. Well, congrats. Sounds like you're making progress on the hire. Regarding sprint reviews, this is one of those things that I've seen as a common problem. And let me give you a solution that I've implemented in the past, and actually we're planning to implement in the place I spend most of my time right now. We transitioned to what we called a system demo. We kept our sprint reviews, but we made sure that we were clear in telling people what they were going to be. These are going to be sprint reviews where engineers are talking to engineers and they're explaining what they built, maybe why they built it. There might be very technical questions. We really valued continuing that ceremony and ensuring that that was something that we continued to support. We also got similar feedback to what Brave Dave is saying, and there were two different types of feedback that we got. One is too technical. Two, one of the interesting things we heard was that people were too intimidated to ask questions because they weren't an engineer. And that room was filled with engineers that were interested in asking challenging, difficult technical questions. So the non-technical folks weren't engaging like we hoped. We couldn't figure out what it was. And then finally someone opened that up for us. And it was like, oh man, that is terrible. We're sorry. We're going to try and fix that. But one of the things we did was we created a system demo. That system demo, for us, we stole it from SAFe. And as I often do, I modified SAFe's approach because I like the intent of SAFe, but I don't like the way they deliver it in each and every piece. But we did steal the system demo. So, and we fluctuated between every 4 to 6 weeks, but we'll say 4 weeks, just every 4 weeks, our product owners would hold what we called a system demo, where they reviewed and demoed the work that we had done since the previous system demo. And then we also previewed the things that we were going to do in lead up to the next system demo. That created a more business-friendly environment where a broader portion of our business was comfortable coming and asking the questions. It was optional for engineers because engineers wanted to be there and see and hear the questions firsthand and understand how they could have done better. But we ensured they were in the back of the room, kind of lurking, not out in front, not in and amongst the crowd, but they just wanted to see and hear. But that approach that we took, led by our product team, they were the only speakers in that changed things for us. What we did was we realized that we were, back to diversity, we had a relatively narrow set of people that were receiving value from our sprint review, but there was a diverse set of interested parties, and we were only delivering the content as made sense for us. That wasn't good enough for the rest of the organization, so we created a secondary business-centric review that added a ton of value. And the place where I'm at now, we've got a similar situation, and we're going to put the same thing in place. And I bet you a lot of money we get the same returns. So, Brave Dave, I would refactor it. I would try that. And it will be interesting to see if you keep the existing sprint reviews or not. We did, because our engineers found value in them. And one of the key reasons they found value is we were pretty darn sizable. So we had 7 teams working on multiple products, and there was an interest across the engineering organization to see and have an awareness of what was going on and how they were doing it, and was there something they could pick up and learn. So we maintained that. But again, we met them where they were, which is one of those things I go back to in diversity. You have to meet a diverse environment where they are. If you keep hanging out in the same channels, you're going to get the same results. So Brave Dave, I've been down that path. That's the approach I've taken. So Brave Dave, that depending on how you go with that system demo option, yes, one of the things that we really pounded into people's brains around sprint reviews is we need to talk in terms of business value. Forget stories. We talked about, here's the business value we plan to deliver to our users. Here's the new functionality that we wanted to unlock. Here's why we're doing this. Then we show, this is how we did it. Feedback. These are the next set of valuable items we're going to go build. I do think the engineering language of story points and user stories automatically puts up a wall for those that aren't comfortable, don't know what those are, start scratching their head around, what is this? What does it matter? That was a mistake that I made. Same place. So we stopped showing burn down charts. We focused on value we're delivering. Here's how what we just did will benefit the users. Or here's how what we just did will make your job easier in support or sales or marketing or whatever it might be. But yes, system demo is good. I really don't get the safe version of it, but we modified it for ourselves for the need that we had. Because one of the challenges that we had was we struggled to deliver true end-to-end functionality in one sprint that was dynamic enough for non-technical users to wrap their head around and see, okay, I can do this piece and then this piece and then this piece. And it was challenging for us to educate the group on, okay, we're doing this, which is going to enable this and then enable that. And in 3 sprints will be good, because we had some beefy, challenging epics that we were working through. But again, inside of the engineering world, where that's the language you speak, it made a ton of sense and people got it. So you may be able to change your phrasing, or you might want to try the system demo. It depends on the group that you have. So look forward to hearing how that goes for you, which direction you go, Brave Dave. And I hope you nail that Scrum Master role you're hiring for. All right. What else is on the table, my friends? What else can we discuss? Awful out there. Oh, I can gift a World of Tanks care package. Oh, guess I can do 3 of them. Is anybody getting this thing that's popping up about gifting things? Twitch, for those of you that don't know, Twitch just had their user conference last week, and it was very interesting. There's some pretty cool things that they're planning on doing that should make everything better for everybody. I'm pretty excited about there's a new pointing system that's coming in that's going to allow you to earn special things. I'm not sure what yet, by just being a part of the stream. So that should be cool. Okay, so now it says I can distribute gifts. So we might all have just gifted each other the same thing. We're going to try this. Here we go. I'm going to distribute gifts. See what happens. I've got to read through their documentation on this and what it is. Open that in a new tab. Tackle that later. Okay. So can you clarify a little bit for me, Brave Dave, on all the teams at once versus one at a time? I could interpret that a couple of different ways. So my assumption is you have one sprint review that goes team by team by team. Is that correct? Is that a fair assumption? That's typically how we did the sprint review, but in the system demo, that wasn't a thing. We stood up and talked about strictly that business value that we were delivering, and the product owners led that. So that decoupled everything from teams and just started talking about these are the things that we built. Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. Do you have teams working in the same general area in the same product? Because historically, the way I've rolled is that teams, while maybe in the same product, they generally own a specific area of that product, so that way they have a whole place to become experts. For instance, one of the systems I was a part of was basically another version of Jira, and we had the team that was focused on work orders because we wanted them to become focused on building the world's best work order management system. There was another team that owned the inventory piece that they were going to, as much as we could, we were going to keep them focused on the inventory side of the house, so that way they could know that space, understand it very well. Okay, so I think it might be okay to keep them talking like that, because then you can compartmentalize, here's the value that we're creating within this specific area. But it's something to play with, right? Don't be afraid to try things in sprint reviews. I think you'll find, and especially since you mentioned that you got some feedback from stakeholders, I think you'll find that if you say, hey, we're going to try some different things and we want your feedback, treat it like a product, they'll be more engaged. So maybe in the next sprint review, stand up and say, hey, we got some feedback that this isn't going as well as everybody would like. Cool. You know what we did? We went out, we built a list of things that we thought might help, and we're going to try them one by one. And we want your feedback to see what is most effective for you, our customers. Because in the end, that sprint review is your product, and your customers are the people who have their butts in those chairs and are willing to give you feedback. And I am sure, just like customers, that when you ask them to participate in the evolution of a product, they'll be engaged, they'll be excited. Uh-oh, September is not here. I better turn that off. It's not September anymore. Let me do that before I forget. So yeah, Brave Dave, treat it like a product. They will respond. They will understand. They will be supportive of you trying things. So definitely do that and put it right stinking on the table. You know, don't I wouldn't be shy talking about it. Let's see. Where's it? I found it. All right, September's turned off. Sorry about that, folks. It's not September anymore. But yeah, those are a couple things I would go for. But like I said, treat it like a product. Say this is our backlog. These are the things we're going to go through one by one and implement, and we want your feedback. That will instantly get them on your side. Instantly. Those are my recommendations, Mr. Brave Dave. And I honestly, I try and treat everything like a product. I treat our hiring process like a product. I treat our implementation of Agile like a product. I've had tremendous success with the Scrum framework helping optimize work. And when I get stuck, when I don't know what to do, I think about, how would I handle this if it were a product? What would I do? And I'm like, oh, yeah, let's see. I should probably create a backlog and engage with my customers and get that feedback and ship early and often. All of those things, those are just fantastic ways to implement work. So if you get stuck and you're not sure what to do, just drop back into Scrum and it will help you. Yeah, my friends. Anything else? Not. We may shut it down until next week. Again, reminder, next Thursday, Bob and I are speaking at Red Hat Agile Day. Go Astros. Man. My son's a big Yankees fan, so sorry. Yeah, I suppose Texas is going to cheer for the Astros. Actually, we have a friend that's a pitcher for the Rangers. So if you are a Rangers fan, sounds like you're not. Cool. So next Thursday, Bob and I speaking at Red Hat Agile Day. I am 95% sure that live stream is going to be public. If it is, I will share in all the normal channels, so that way you can watch if you like. If not, that's cool. And then next Friday, Bob and I, yes, Waterfall Bob can make an appearance. We will be doing the stream together. So that will always interesting trying to corral that fella. But he is Bob. So, and I actually cheer for the Astros. I think they're I enjoy the vibe and the culture that they have. It's like a very healthy, energetic, and supportive bunch of dudes. Nice. So, okay, cool. Well, everyone, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for engaging in the discussion. Go create diversity in your teams. You can do it. The Mets, who cheers for them? cheers for the Mets. Actually, I have my brother-in-law lives in California and he's a Mets fan. Whatever. Okay. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. Go make diversity. Uh-oh. Brave Dave with the last minute drop. Hmm. I tell you what, coaching up was one of those things that was easier than I thought. And I'll tell you why. As an executive, you get very little feedback. You get very little constructive criticism. And most people that are successful in those roles actually crave that feedback and view it as a gift. And I've found most people in those roles are very receptive to coaching and support in how they can get better. You've got to couch it well, right? You just have to talk to them about it and explain the importance of their role. That's something I've had a lot of success with. Is oftentimes they've never been a part of something like what you're implementing. And they're trying to figure out how they fit in, what role they can play. So the first piece you can do is educate them on the importance of their engagement, the importance of their feedback. That will educate them on the weight of the things that they say and how it's received by the teams. Then coach them along the way. Or I've had also a lot of success with like, hey, I'm going to need your help in this upcoming meeting. Here's the challenge I'm up against. Here's how I think you can swing in and save the day with a few key points or a few key words. So that's problem number one, is that oftentimes those stakeholders don't understand the weight that they carry because they've never done it. They've never been a part of it. So they're kind of wondering, they want to help, but maybe they don't know how. Maybe they don't understand what they can do. So I always start from an educational perspective, usually because we're asking people to operate in ways different than how they've operated in the past, sometimes for decades. So that just takes continual coaching, continual reminders. So that's where I would dig into. I think that's like a Metacast level discussion. So I'm going to throw that out to Bob and see if that's something he wants to tackle, because we're recording 2 episodes next week. So that might be something to dig into a bit deeper. It'd be interesting to hear Bob's put on that. Okay. So Brave Dave, a little bit of that. I'd like to think about it more, which is why I'm kind of bailing on it pretty quick. But I think there's something there. It kind of ties in with a lot of the stuff we've been discussing on recent episodes. So I think that might work. Okay. All right. We are at the wire. I'm going to shut it down. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of the stream. Thanks for helping each other. Go Astros, I guess. And we will see you next week. All right. Take care, everyone.